A little while ago, I did a video on a bunch of cheap exotic cars you could buy for under 30k. I did 10 of them and I thought to myself, could I find 10 more? The answer is no. I had to go to £35,000 instead. So in this video, I'm going to look at 10 insanely cool exotic cars that are like properly good value for money, all under £35,000. If you like this video and want to see another one like it at 40k instead, maybe hit the like button, and if I get 1,000 likes, I'll make that video. Subscribe so if you're without further ado, let's get straight into it. We can hit this video off with the Series 2 Lotus EXIGE, one of my personal favourite cars ever, with its 1.8 litre inline 4 Toyota engine, which produces 189 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5 seconds. You can actually also get the slightly quicker EXIGE S just about within our price range, which has a supercharger and bumps the power up to 220 brake horsepower, but it's quite difficult to get, so I'll stick to the non-S in this video. The original EXIGE was built off the back of the Elise as effectively a racing version of that car, and the Series 2 carried on this formula, hence the car looks similar to the Elise, just more aggressive overall. These start at around £25,000, with £35,000 getting you a 2006 model with around 50,000 miles on the clock. That Toyota engine was also known to be far better on reliability than the Rover K series found in the early Series 2 Elise, but parts of these can be quite expensive, which is worth considering when buying. Next up we have the Aston Martin Vantage, another properly cool British sports car with its 4.3 litre V8 engine, which makes 380 brake horsepower and does 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds, only just quicker than the little EXIGE. Despite being a cheap Aston, it wasn't cheap to out on. Its lower price comes from it being the most successful car in the company's history, so there are plenty out there. It's still a hand-built car, and it was made to compete with the Porsche 911 as a sports car that still maintains some Grand Touring characteristics. I think value for money wise as a head turner, there isn't much better on this list, though of course repair costs can be quite high given it's an Aston. It's not unreliable, though clutches are a known issue, but the engines are relatively strong. You need to spend around £23,000 at the bottom end to get into one of these, and £35,000 is enough to get your 2006 model with 30,000 miles on the clock. Taking 8th on this list is the Maserati GRANTURISMO S, which came with the larger 4.7 litre V8 engine, producing 433 brake horsepower and doing 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds. With the second gen GRANTURISMO being shown last year with an electric option or a V6 option, the first gen is looking like a pretty cool car for the money, since you get yourself a Ferrari V8 engine for under £25,000. The S came out in 2008 with that larger engine, and on release it was the most powerful Maserati available, with its automated manual gearbox also shared with Ferrari, the F430 to be exact. It also got a few aesthetic modifications and upgraded Brembo brakes to match the increased performance. £22,000 is the minimum you'll need to spend to get into one of these, and for £35,000 you'll be looking at a 2013 model with 30,000 miles on it. Reliability isn't actually too bad on these, but electricals have been a key problem for some owners, same goes for the interior build quality. There are few shapes in the car world as iconic as the 911s, and the 997 911 offers the best value for money right now in my opinion. In Carrera S spec it comes with a 3.8 litre flat 6 block, which makes 350 brake horsepower and does 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. The 997 for me is the fundamental modern 911, where the 996 had the controversial headlights and was the first to drop air cooling. The 997 cemented the cooling thing and returned to the headlights in the normal shape, while also introducing modern day 911 things like the PDK gearbox. It's not a super flashy 911 design, but in my head if you ask me to draw what a 911 looks like, it looks like a 997. The Carrera S keeps the typical 911 rear wheel drive and then adds a selection of performance focused changes to increase power and handling. These run you around £19,000 at the bottom end, making it the cheapest car on the list, with £35,000 being enough for a nice 2005 model with 50,000 miles on it. IMS bearing failure and bore scoring are the two key problems to be aware of on these, unfortunately. Not a particularly common car, but the Lexus RCF is properly cool with its 5 litre V8 engine, which makes 470 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.4 seconds, pretty quick. The RC is actually in the compact executive car class, and on the roads the F is actually a competitor to cars like the M4 and C63 AMG. It's got highly intelligent Brembo brakes for stopping power and a torque vectoring rear diff from TUSCAN. It also got BBS forged aluminium rims and a bunch of parts off the LFA, like the front scoop and the tachometer. With the aero package on it, it also got an active rear spoiler and some modifications to the floor to maximise downforce, and there was a carbon fibre package which swapped out a bunch of external panels for exposed carbon. These are listed from around £27,000 and £35,000 to get your 2016 model with around 15,000 miles on the clock. Being a Lexus, the reliability is pretty positive too, with very few complaints from owners. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As I said, if you want to see more like it, hit the like button, 1,000 likes, and make the same video again at a slightly different price range. And let me know in the comments down below, what is the best value for money car in the entire world? As in, like, does something so amazingly good for such a decent price that it is the best value for money? Let me know in the comments down below. In my last video on this topic, I spoke about the BMW M4, a car which I reviewed a little while ago. In this video, let's talk about its little brother, the M2, with its 3-litre turbocharged inline-6 engine producing 364 brake horsepower, which will take it to 60 in 4.2 seconds. When the 1 Series Coupe and hatchback were split apart into the 1 and 2 Series, we were blessed with the M2, as BMW didn't want to besmirch the M1 name in any way with that classic car. They did of course make the 1M though, which is a well-loved car and was the predecessor to this. It has been a highly popular car and it does look really good with the wider wheel arches, the more aggressive body kit overall, and the general performance. £25,000 will get you into one of these and 35k will get you a 2008 model with around 60,000 miles on it. Leaking oil filter housing gaskets, water pump failures, and boost and charge pipes detaching are 3 key problems known on these. In fourth on the list, it's time for a fan favourite within this price range, the first generation Audi R8, specifically with the 4.2 litre V8 engine, which makes 423 brake horsepower and does 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. It's based on a Lamborghini Gallardo, sharing the same chassis, and the V10 R8 also shares the same engine. But the V8 is more than enough, coming in both manual and automatic. I personally am all over that manual model, as it's effectively a baby supercar with a manual box. Audi have a plethora of iconic shapes from their amazing history of cars, and I think the R8 will go down in history as a classic, so even getting into a cheap one might not be a bad idea in 30 years time when we look back on them fondly. Cheapest examples sit at around £28,000, with 35k getting you a 2008 model with 60,000 miles on it. Reliability is pretty good on them, but you have to check whether the A-pillars have been strengthened, as there's a chassis weakness on older models that can kill the car. TVRs are renowned for their ridiculous pace, and the Tuscan really embodies that, with its 4-litre inline-6 engine that makes 440 brake horsepower and does 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds, not bad for a car its age. It arrived in 1999, kicking off the modern era of TVRs to some degree, but sticking to TVR's standard design philosophy that features like traction control and anti-lock brakes do not improve the performance or safety of their cars. I have tried my best to understand this logic, as in basically the Tuscan's lack of safety features is supposed to scare you into not ever overdriving it, but I'm not a psychologist, so I may need some support from any psychologist followers that I have, so please let me know if TVR got this right. The Tuscan was a great race car, by the way, used in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in both 2003 and 2004, and for me remains one of my favourite cars of the early 2000s. These start at around £22,000 and 35k will get you a 2001 model with 25,000 miles on it. That Speed 6 engine, however, is not known for reliability, so do be aware of that. Taking second on the list, we have the Mercedes C63 AMG from the W205 generation, specifically in coupe spec, which comes with a 4-litre twin turbocharged V8 engine producing 469 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.9 seconds, matching the Tuscan. It's a great and more modern looking C63 than the previous generation, but of course you lose the naturally aspirated nature of those cars. It looks massively different to the standard car, with the bulkier overall body and the aggressive front bumper in particular showing the difference. It's almost identical to the C63 saloon and estate mechanically though, which is not a bad thing at all, as it really is one of the most performant coupes available, proven by the S model completing the Nürburgring in 7 minutes 44 seconds, not bad at all. £29,000 will get you into one of these and 35k is enough for a 2017 model with 50,000 miles on the clock. Interior squeaks and rattles are known on these, but generally they're not too bad. Taking the top spot in this video, we have the Nissan GTR, which is quite difficult to get in our price range now, as prices have been slowly increasing over the past few years, but £35,000 is enough to get you a 2009 model with relatively high mileage. For that, you'll be getting a 3.8 litre twin turbocharged V6 engine producing 471 brake horsepower and managing 0 to 60 in a ridiculous time of 3.4 seconds. Skylines are some of the most revered cars in the world, mostly because they're known to trouble supercars for a fraction of the cost, and the GTR continued that trend. Not only is it fast from the get-go, people have modified these with relative ease to get them to well over 1,000 brake horsepower to become real supercar killers. Honestly, money to performance ratio, there isn't really anything better than a GTR in my books. They're genuinely not a car that I personally fancy owning, but I can't deny how unreal they are, and reliability is generally okay, just with control solenoids being one key problem. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. Massive thanks to you guys for watching and to the patrons for their continued support. If you want to watch another video on some cheap exotic cars, then do click up here and subscribe down here.